All right, so chapter 8 with Aristotle's virtue ethics theory, starting with question 1, our emotional reactions, and just overall summary of this section. Virtue ethics, to summarize really quick, is following the model of the virtuous person, which is just being good all the time and pure and general goodness. The example from class was the what would Jesus do scenario, because Jesus is supposed to be an image of virtue and purity, and figuring out what he would do in this situation.
Well, compared to Jesus, I'm probably not virtuous.
Yes. Right? We all suck in this theory.
I like to think that when making decisions, I would choose the good decision, what would be considered good, or just, I like to think that I would pick that, but, or somehow make my decision making seem like it fit into this theory. It's like I want to be the holy, like, good girl with the halo on.
Holier than thou.
Yeah, I want to be the good girl with the halo on and use that for my good decision making model, but I think it's just sometimes not applicable in some situations, I suppose.
Yeah.
Thinking back to my younger days, like go to the party and have a beer as an underage, or just not.
Well, and I think
some of my friends picked the more just route that I did.
And they drove you home and got you home safely.
And I thank them for being Aristotle's theory.
Well, and I couldn't use it as my main ethical theory as much as I would like to say that I could, for that reason alone. And even at work, when somebody calls you and says, hey, can you get this for me? You're like, oh, I'm so sick of these people calling me.
Right.
No, I'm not going to do this. I don't have time. But the right thing to do is, the virtuous thing to do would be, of course I can get that for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I liked the scenarios in this section better than the other ones.
Yes, I would agree. I really like the cheerleader one.
Yeah, the cheerleader one is so identifiable, because I think we can all pick out a situation in our life with, whether it was your kid or someone that you knew, or you saw a situation where something like this happened, where someone was meeting the ends of the situation, like with this cheerleader situation. She can't do all the flips and whatever, all the gymnastics and things involved that could be an objective of cheerleading, but what is the true objective of being a cheerleader? The true objective is to fire up a crowd and to get everybody really excited and moving, so that that energy feeds out to the people who are playing the sport. So I think there are lots of examples that we can look to in life where that's the case.
Well, and there was just a news clip on TV, I don't know if it was last night or on Friday night, but it was about a military person who was a double amputee, so he lost both of his legs. Did you see the story?
I saw that.
And he wanted to be a police officer. So he's the first double amputee to be a police officer, and one of the questions that they asked was, well, if he fell down, if he would be able to get back up. And then part of the clip, they showed him, he was in some training, and he did fall down, and he bounced back up really, really fast. And, well, that answered that question for everybody. But it reminded me of this cheerleader story where, they almost have to prove themselves twice as much that they can do it, because there's so many doubters that say they can't.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that's really unfortunate. I think that's the emotional piece that really connected for me, is just why is that the case? Why do they have to do that?
Well, and if you bring the emotion into it, who is more passionate about being a cheerleader?
Right.
I'm going to go with the girl in the wheelchair.
The one
because she's had to overcome so many odds to be there, that she loves it, lives it, breathes it, gives it her all, rather than, oh, I look cute in this skirt and watch me do this flip.
Yeah.
Like the police officer, his mission in life is to serve his country and to protect those that he loves, and he did it in the military and had a huge sacrifice, and then that didn't deter him. Then he came home and wanted to be a police officer, and he did everything he had to do and could possibly do to achieve his dream, and he did. So who's going to be more passionate for a police officer, that guy or some, high school graduate that I want to be a cop.
Picked it.
Yeah.
That's just,
I have a degree in criminal justice, therefore I am qualified to be a police officer. Right. Who would you want protecting you?
Right. I bet you hear those stories all the time.
Yeah.
I bet you shake your head all the time.
Yeah. We'll be interviewing soon for police officer. That's always a good time.
I really liked on page 187 where it says, for Aristotle, justice means giving people what they deserve, giving each person his or her due. And I like that in the sense that I think, yes, that's how it should be. You work for it, you do your time, you should get what's coming for you. But then it goes on about how do you say what each person deserves? My idea of what I deserve may be different than what someone else deserves. So that kind of brought us to question 2 with the
I thought you were leading into that.
Question 3. No, it wasn't. Question 2 with the self-evaluations.
Yes.
In the honor code, I think we've all had situations where we've maybe been on group projects that how do you distribute a grade? Or I think of when I was in college, I had many courses that were on a bell curve. Mm-hmm. And so even though I may have really done well, if there was other people that did better than I, even by just a question or 2 on a test, that would make my score lower because I had to fall on the curve. Mm-hmm. And so I think, well, that's not fair. That's not just.
That's not giving you your due.
Yes, that's not giving me my due. I studied too, and just because I maybe missed a question or 2 more than the number 1 person in class, now I have a B, where if it would have been like a regular evaluation or scale, I would have had an A. So that was something that I kind of thought about with evaluation and what's just and what we deserve. So. Monica, do you have an example?
I do, and it was in a previous class, and it was a group project, and we had to fill out the evaluation on the team, and we did have a weak link on the team, and not everybody contributed to the team project in the manner that I think that they should have, but yet when it came time to fill out the evaluation, I did not want to be the one to harm the team's score, so I said that, everybody did what they needed to do, and I feel guilty about it now. But at the time, I didn't want to do anything to jeopardize the team's grade, so I just said everybody did a good job, and everybody contributed equally. And
so you used utilitarianism in that case for your evaluation.
I sure did. But what I should have done the virtuous thing and been honest and said, there was 3 of us on this team who put in what needed to be done, and there was one who rode our coattails, and I should have done that.
Yeah, I mean, going with that, I think there's also been times where, I would give an overall utilitarianism type feedback, hoping that that's what everybody else was doing as well. I mean, even though I would feel I gave my best effort, that's subjective for somebody else to say. They might have thought Denise didn't pull her weight, or she just was okay. Sometimes in discussion, I feel like I hold back a little bit, and it's usually because I'm either I'm trying to still figure out what I want to say, or
thinking about,
or B, I'm just so engrossed in what everybody else is saying and enjoying that I don't put my 2 cents in,
Right.
But others might take that subjectively and think like, oh, she just doesn't know, so she's just sitting there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with both of this discussion that's happening, in thinking about how self-evaluation of projects and group discussions and things fit into these different theories, utilitarianism, Kantianism, and virtue ethics, it's really hard to get virtue ethics to fit into a self-evaluation and figure out how that fits into a theory, because we have a really good example of using utilitarianism, even though now, Monica, you feel like you shouldn't have done that because maybe because of Kantianism, because although everyone was happy in the end, it wasn't inevitably the right thing to do, because even though it may have affected your grade, like that person probably feels like they did an outstanding job. So utilitarianism and Kantianism fit pretty well, I think, into self-evaluations or having an honor code. Kantianism probably fits better into the honor code of self-evaluating more than anything, because even though
you can't lie,
Right.
yeah, you shouldn't. You shouldn't.
Oh, I don't think I did lie. I just kind of was completely honest.
You shook it up. You spun that
Use one of
truth.
those alternative facts.
Exactly. You alternative facted it. But when we're filling out self-evaluations, even though at the end, at least how I feel filling out those evaluations for group projects, like if it might bring our group grade down, though it shouldn't, because that's a bunch of crap. Someone else who didn't pull their weight shouldn't pull down. Yeah, especially if you're doing a group evaluation. But even if, like for one of our classes this semester, we group reflected everyone's projects at the end.
Oh.
Yeah.
In an open format. So if somebody, and thank goodness everybody had really great projects and they were stellar, but had somebody not, which I've experienced in other classes, I maybe would have had a really hard time saying, I felt like you did 3 days worth of work when I did 3 weeks worth of work.
Yeah. And you did it all in class while I watched.
Yes.
Exactly. Is that what you were talking about?
Yeah. Copied our game, our Jeopardy. What did we do?
We did.
How to Be a Millionaire. Wants to Be a Millionaire. And then next thing we know,
it was Rockstar.
Oh,
it was
like
stellar.
It sounds like it.
It had music and everything.
Yeah.
We had technical difficulties.
It worked
As
out.
we always
and then
do.
after we finished ours, we watched the other group put together a Family Feud while 2 other groups were presenting.
Yeah.
Did you say anything?
No, I just threw eye darts at the back of their heads.
Utilitarianism. You were mad.
It was a summer class. I was just trying to
get it done.
It was a good course though.
There's that anger that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, that outrage.
Moral outrage. For real.
Oh, funny.
Yeah. So that was a really interesting case too, because definitely, since you have to look that person directly in the eyes, like, I'm not going to follow Kantianism in that situation. And I was even thinking, like, because we did actual, like, paper evaluations on each other the night before when we were actually presenting. And I, like, even was writing things in there. And because we were such a small class, I was like,
they're going to tell my handwriting.
I know. I can't. Yeah. They can tell my handwriting. I use a blue felt tip pen. Everyone knows it's my pen. It's either me or Megan.
Yep.
So, even on something like that where it's anonymous and it doesn't really count towards your grade, it's still really hard to just do the right thing. I really wanted to say something about that movie project, but I didn't.
Yeah. So we've all been in that.
Yeah,
we've all just decided to go with the flow and let it ride.
Yeah.
I forgot where I was going with that.
That's okay.
Once again.
That's okay. Be virtuous.
It was a good point though. Oh, so kind of back to the paper thing. So, it would if with our society the way it is right now, and if I say, Denise, your project sucked, and I didn't like it, I didn't get anything out of it, it was a complete waste of my time. What are you going to say to me?
Your project sucked too.
Exactly. So I don't think that venue even really encourages honest feedback.
Yeah.
Because of our society, well, you ditch me, I'm going to ditch you right back, because that's just how we are.
Yeah, so is that something you would say in relation to number 4 that our society does wrong?
Yes. We do a lot of things wrong.
We do a lot of things
Electing
wrong.
leaders.
Especially not for the virtuous reasons.
Yeah. And going, well, to the country, I think
yeah.
overall there's a whole global lack of accountability. And you can take that across the board. You can take that politics. You can take that in education. You can take that, not holding your classmate accountable is where I was going with that.
Yeah.
In work, I mean, every aspect of your life in our society, we have accountability issues.
Yeah, I agree. I think that you're absolutely right that accountability, when we're thinking about the quote on here, is learning how to live a good life and not satisfying the majority or protecting the property of the wealthy. I think that accountability is probably our number 1.
Yep.
And, I'm tying in the wiretapping. Bringing it in with the Russians, but, like, the right thing to do would be for our administration to just say, like, yep, we were talking to the Russians when we shouldn't have been, and this would all be over with. Like, maybe stuff wouldn't be so blown out of proportion at this point, since we are continuing to find more and more information. If they would just pony up and say, yeah, we did it.
Yeah.
Jared Kushner would be like, yep, I had no business to be talking with the Russians, but I did it. Or Donnie Jr., who was making deals with the Russians, and the Trumps still haven't divested from their companies. That is a really, it may not be a bad thing, but it looks like a bad thing because no one's doing what they need to do and actually just stepping up and saying it.
Yep. You need a little virtue. And
Yeah.
you can practice virtue.
Yeah.
And then you can get really good at it.
Well, and the accountability thing with the wealth thing, those that you have power over, you hold accountable for their actions. Those that you have equal power to, you really kind of rethink that ball game.
Right.
And those that you have no authority over, what can you do?
Right.
You can try.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, who is,
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
that's absolutely right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, good discussion on chapter 8.
Yes.
All right.
Aristotle.
Woohoo! That wraps it up.
Excellent. Push the button. We're done.
I just did.